Avec l'aide du vent, c'est pris par Fran McDermott. Et il a au tour maintenant des Riders de la Saskatchewan de se lancer à l'attaque. Le ballon est presque au 29 de leur zone. Voici l'attaque de la Saskatchewan. Ligne d'abord.
Le centre pour les vétérans, Aldag, Wilter, Skolrud et Hornet.
Et les receveurs qui sont bons.
Son kick très rapide, obtenu des Lions.
John Herrera, qui est le directeur gérant des Riders, ainsi que l'entraîneur Ruben Berry, n'ont pas craint de faire des échanges. Ils ont beaucoup de rapidité. Sauf que le quart, Pao est un vétéran, il a beaucoup d'expérience, il n'a pas un pas extrêmement puissant, mais il joue bien. Alors voilà qui est en difficulté, fait la passe en plein centre et c'est réussi. Ce ne sera pas le premier jeu toutefois. Le ballon...
Cette passe pour un gain de 8 verges.
Alors voilà pour le premier jeu gagné très facilement. Il manquait une verge, effectivement. Le gain avait été de 9. Et le ballon a été porté. Il avait un très long gain. Tous les joueurs des Argonauts s'étaient massés à la ligne d'appui, à la ligne de mêlée. Premier 10. Le ballon est au... Lorsqu'on lui bloque le centre, et une belle course, et c'est un autre premier jeu. Donc, dans la zone du Toronto maintenant, les Riders à l'attaque. Le quart est Joe Pao, le numéro 6, remise en retardement au numéro 6 environ pour un premier jeu. Belle assistance, mais ce n'est pas ça le comble ici au Taylor Field de Regina. C'est dans les 22-23 000 environ. Petite passe dans le flanc droit et voilà qu'il se faufile bien.
Alors, le batteur de dégagement des Riders de Saskatchewan, Badowich, est celui qui avait vu ses 2 premiers dégagements bloqués l'an dernier contre les Concordes dans sa première présence comme batteur.
En effet, vous avez bonne mémoire, M. Dubé. Alors, le ballon s'en va en touche et l'arbitre va juger maintenant où le ballon a quitté le terrain. C'est au
ouest et ça tourbillonne avec les gradins qui sont face à vous, ce qui crée un genre de bassin de vent à l'intérieur du terrain. C'est assez puissant aussi.
A trébuché sur Mike Hamlock, sinon il pouvait gagner davantage.
Ça, c'est la fiche de Barnes l'an dernier, bien sûr. Et le premier jeu gagné facilement. Brown. Le ballon est au 29, premier 10. Les Argonauts qui sont pas reconnus pour courir très souvent, mais voilà qu'ils l'ont fait au moins 4 fois jusqu'à maintenant. Remise encore une fois, et c'est encore la course vers l'aile, mais là, on l'attendait. La ligne d'appui a réagi au 31. Ce sera un gain de 2 verges seulement pour Brown. Décidément, Brown, on le fait travailler.
De Brown après un gain minime.
2 verges. Brown qui est de l'université Clemson. Le ballon est au 31. Deuxième et 8. Brown se doit de passer maintenant. Il a le vent derrière lui. La passe à Brown. Et là, on est 4 pour l'attendre.
Qui viennent du banc parce qu'il y a de nombreuses substitutions.
Dégagement de Hank Illissick avec l'aide du vent. Il n'y a toujours pas de marque. Nous sommes au premier quart. Encore 7 minutes et 5 secondes à écouler. Le ballon pris à la ligne de 28. Et c'est McDermott qui s'en empare et revient jusqu'au 33-34 environ. Un botté de 55 verges. Retour de 6. Il n'y a pas de marque. 0-0. Les chances de marquer ont été nulles jusqu'à maintenant. Brown a porté le ballon 4 fois pour des gains de 32 verges pendant qu'on voit McDermott qui ramène le ballon. Bon joueur canadien, ce McDermott. Belle acquisition pour les Roughriders de la Saskatchewan.
Sur le jeu de retour, Mike Hamlock a été légèrement...
Non, c'est faux. C'est un Américain. Ça ne l'empêche pas d'être excellent quand même. Dans le champ arrière des Riders, Pierre, de la Saskatchewan.
Craig Ellis est great figure.
Oui, on parle de l'attaque, mais je parlais de la défense. Oh. Les Argonauts qui ont 10 Américains en défense. Oh, bien joué par Pao. Hein. Donnait l'impression que le jeu irait de la gauche et en se retournant vers sa gauche, a donné le ballon et une. Le ballon au 43. Remise à Ellis qui gagne facilement le premier jeu. Et Lester Brown a obtenu des Concordes de prendre place en champ arrière. Premier 10, le ballon au 47 de la Saskatchewan. Pao cherche, ça passe. Et c'est intercepté. Presque intercepté. Pierre Bennett l'avait dans les mains. Bennett qui a été obtenu des Blue Bombers de Winnipeg en retour de Rose et d'un choix au repêchage l'an prochain. Toronto qui s'est renforcé, c'est dire au bureau d'entraîneur-chef, c'est encore une meilleure équipe que celle de l'an dernier, puis on sait que l'an dernier, il était déjà assez exceptionnel. La passe complètement ratée. Il vient de Long Beach State. Il a toujours été avec les Lions de la Colombie-Britannique, échangé en fin de saison l'an dernier aux Riders. Le dégagement excellent contre le vent. Enfin, il ne faut pas trop exagérer, le vent n'est peut-être pas aussi violent qu'on pense. Le ballon est près de la ligne de 3 et voici le beau retour jusqu'à la ligne de 25 par Paul Bennett. C'est pas le premier venu dans ce genre de jeu. C'est un botté de 60 verges et un retour de 22.
C'était assuré le championnat très tôt. Et je ne crois pas cette année qu'il y a une équipe, que
Non.
ce soit dans l'Est ou dans l'Ouest, qui pourra se détacher. S'il y en a une, ce sera peut-être dans l'Ouest, mais certainement pas dans l'Est.
Remise en plein centre et Toronto, bien ça m'étonne.
Du côté droit, et c'est le secondaire, Billy Jackson, qui le surveillait homme à homme. Donc, on pourrait revenir travailler contre ce secondaire.
Tout le monde est à droite. Il y a 5 receveurs du côté droit. Barnes, ça va vers sa droite. Fait la passe. Ah non! Belle surveillance, même si la passe était bien dirigée. Les Riders...
Il est défensif, mais aussitôt qu'il le déborde, c'est le secondaire Billy Jackson qui s'amène. Donc Barnes n'avait pas le choix, mais la passe très précise.
Ouais, aurait été saisi, Pierre.
Manque de concentration de la part d'Emmanuel Tolbert avec 3...
On devrait avoir mis les mains sur le ballon. Quoi qu'il en soit, on va dégager. Et là, les Riders pourraient se retrouver en meilleure position sur le terrain. Eux qui doivent faire face à un vent qui n'est pas en pleine face, mais de côté. Voilà le botté, bien dirigé, en spirale. Pris au vol et en même temps, il quitte le terrain, le numéro 3, Fran McDermott. Ça, c'est le botté idéal. Les secondaires sont bons aussi. Infraction signalée, je pense que c'est une mise en jeu incorrecte de la part des Riders, mais c'est à voir. Il y a 2 drapeaux. On a refusé la pénalité pour avoir retenu 53, Pierre, de la Saskatchewan.
Jerry Hornet, le plaqueur du côté droit. Les secondaires des Argonauts, Pierre, sont William Mitchell, Daryl Nicholson et Don Moan. Et les demi-défensifs, Meacham, Brasley, Bennett, Wilson et Leroy Paul.
C'est une bonne équipe, hein? Pas mauvais comme équipe. Deuxième et 10. Paul recule très loin. Cherche. Accroché au passage, se sauve. Revient vers le centre, plaqué après un gain de 2 verges. Alors la défense, Pierre, devait bien jouer en tertiaire. C'est le temps qu'il reste à faire. 2 minutes 47 au premier quart, il n'y a pas de marque. Ce qui contraste de façon assez flagrante avec les matchs disputés plus tôt ce week-end. On en parlera. Perte de ballon, est-ce que Toronto a repris? Oui, je pense. Premier 10, c'est Carl Brasley qui a pris ce ballon, qui tourbillonnait un peu dans le P. C'est une moyenne de 62 points par match. Ça, c'est à l'image de la Ligue canadienne. Beaucoup de points, beaucoup de passes. Sauf qu'aujourd'hui, on peut dire que ce match n'est pas à l'image des 3 précédents. Le ballon au 35. Premier 10, Toronto. Barnes recule. Et dans difficulté, fait la passe. Intercepté. Non. Il l'avait dans les mains. Il l'avait dans les mains et tentait de se sauver avec le ballon. C'est deuxième et 10.
On a un secondaire qui a effectué du blitz, Pierre. Sur le jeu, pour faire pression, c'est le numéro 30 qui est Ken McEachern, maraudeur, demi-inséré.
Mais quand même, Bob Burns se détache,
Oui,
Pierre.
se détache, mais on l'a accroché un peu et ça passe manquait de force. Et il n'a pas choisi le bon joueur, Pierre. Lester Brown était complètement seul au centre du terrain du côté droit.
Deuxième et 10 du 35. Beaucoup de monde du côté droit, un seul à gauche et Barnes fait la passe, saisi et ce sera un long premier jeu par le numéro 27. Yann Carinci.
La force de Barnes, Pierre, c'est d'être capable de se démarquer du côté droit, de déborder l'allié défensif et là, on crée énormément de pression sur le secondaire Billy Jackson et les demi-défensifs.
Barnes a toujours cette faculté, Pierre, de pouvoir lancer, de diriger ses passes avec énormément de précision alors qu'il est en course. Il me fait beaucoup penser à Tom Clemens de ce côté-là, même s'il lance pas avec, s'il lance avec plus de force, je pense, que Clemens. 25 verges, le gain. C'est le plus long gain du match jusqu'à maintenant. Le ballon est maintenant dans la zone des Riders au 52. Premier 10. Barnes recule. Droit derrière lui. Fait une feinte de passe pour aller la part il est seul. Pearson est plaqué à la ligne de 34. Un placement si jamais l'attaque tombe en panne. Mais il reste seulement 35 secondes à faire dans ce premier quart. Alors il faudra qu'il profite du vent pleinement. Si bien sûr le vent qui tourbillonne sera à ce moment-là d'une aide quelconque. Là, pas en
jeu renversé.
Non, ça va du côté droit. Fait la passe. Réussi au 34. Premier jeu gagné.
Quelle variété de jeu, Pierre. On a fait mine de remettre au demi-inséré sur le jeu renversé pour attirer la ligne vers le centre et Barnes, une fois de plus, qui se libère du côté droit. On voit ici le travail de McEachern qui s'est fait déjouer sur ce jeu.
C'était son
joueur. De jeu renversé et ça a libéré Brown du côté droit.
Et nous retrouvons Pierre Dufault.
Merci Camille. Le ballon est au 17. Premier 10, les Argonauts. C'est la première menace véritable du match. Début du deuxième quart. La passe. Réussie. Oh mais quel plaqué. Jusqu'à la ligne de 5. Belle passe, Pierre, et belle résistance du receveur. Gain de 12.
On avait déployé 4 receveurs de passe du côté gauche, dont Yann Carinci. Et on a envoyé Manuel Tolbert, le seul receveur de passe du côté droit, profondément dans la zone des buts. Et Carinci, au bas de l'écran, si on le voit passer, va traverser en diagonale le terrain pour capter cette passe de Joe Barnes. Mais quel contact, mais quelle concentration de la part de Carinci pour garder le ballon à sa possession.
Non seulement ça, mais il est allé chercher un autre 4 verges. Puis le ballon est juste à l'extérieur. Il y a 3 receveurs à gauche, 1 à droite, 2 porteurs. Et Barnes est pris. Et il va marquer. Non. Il est arrêté à la ligne d'une verge. Pierre, ça c'est un jeu raté, avorté.
Oui.
Il devait remettre le ballon à quelqu'un, ne trouvait personne. Il a réagi. Ça fait à peine une semaine qu'il est là. Tout le monde est à gauche. Et Barnes court de ce côté-là, va marquer lui-même. Non, on fait la passe. Touché.
Oui.
Et c'est John Carinci qui l'a marqué, le numéro 27. 6-0 Toronto en début de deuxième quart.
Pierre, Carinci n'a pas débuté le match, mais les 3 ou 4 derniers tirs de Joe Barnes ont été destinés à Yann Carinci et il a très bien fait. Sur le jeu de l'erreur de voir lorsque vous avez possession du ballon, la ligne de 2 ou de 3 verges, aucun demi au champ arrière et sur le jeu, aucun demi au champ arrière. On avait déployé 4 receveurs de passe à gauche, 2 du côté droit. Barnes, Carinci.
Ah oui, il pouvait marquer, puis il y avait de l'espace, il avait des bloqueurs. Mais voilà que c'est réussi. Carinci, qui est un joueur dont on ne parle pas souvent, mais qui a vraiment son utilité chez les Argonauts. D'ailleurs, Bob Bilovich, l'entraîneur-chef, en parlait hier lors de la conférence de presse. Et il semble content au Bilovich de sa formation.
Oui.
Il l'a dit, nous avons renforcé les positions là où nous nous pensions un peu faibles, même si nous avons gagné. La touche à nouveau, M. Dumont.
Encore le roulement du corps du côté gauche. Et la passe précise. Et si on libère facilement Carinci, c'est que on double souvent la couverture sur Terry Greer et ça crée les ouvertures pour les autres receveurs de passe.
On a vu Carinci marquer et tenir le ballon pour le botter d'après-toucher, la transformation de Hank Ilesic. Le ballon pris à la ligne des buts. Craig Ellis. Et se heurte à 3 ou 4 joueurs au 25, un retour de 25 verges après un botté d'envoi de 65. Premier 10 des Roughriders, c'est Darrell Nicholson, M. Dumont, qui a fait le plaqué là-dessus. Rappelons la victoire de Calgary, ça c'était pas prévu, vendredi soir. Il y a eu 12 revirements dans ce match. Le quart partant là-bas et Roy DeWalt, c'est un bon. Pau Pau était son second. Premier 10, le ballon presque au 25. Le quart, Joe Pau Pau. La passe presque interceptée. 2 joueurs des Argonauts ont touché au ballon.
Il y a 11 équipes, la USFL, la Ligue nationale de football, et les Canadiens qui voulaient avoir Joe Pau Pau. Il a signé avec les Riders.
Deuxième et 10. Pau Pau la passe selon des lignes de côté, c'est réussi. Et juste à temps parce qu'il y a quelqu'un qui s'en venait en trompe, Pierre, pour venir intercepter. Le numéro 13, Darrell Wilson du Toronto. Le gain est de 13, effectivement, jusqu'au 38-39.
Oui, c'est Tim Kirsch,
Oui.
anciennement des Lions, lui aussi.
Saskatchewan à l'attaque. Premier 10. Et charge, blitz, la passe. Et ça, c'est tout simplement débarrassé. Infraction signalée par l'arbitre de ce côté-ci. Pierre 10. 2 receveurs à gauche, 1 à droite. Un demi-inséré, 2 porteurs de ballon. En voilà un. Et ça, c'est Ellis qui part du 55. Deuxième et 5. La Saskatchewan. Pau Pau cherche la passe en plein centre. Oh, quelle attrapée! Quelle passe!
Malheureusement, on a retenu du coup.
Et de bon à la Ligue canadienne.
Sa 5e saison avec les Riders.
Du 45, après la pénalité, c'est maintenant 2e et 15.
Passe-piège au
Passe-piège
centre.
en plein centre, perdu. De toute manière, Pierre, il ne sera pas allé très loin. Le batteur de la Saskatchewan, Dave Barovich, aura l'aide du nom. On va voir si ça va l'aider. La remise un peu haute et parvient à se débarrasser. Et c'est un ballon en spirale qui pousse le receveur, jusqu'au 22. Il revient vers le centre, plaqué au 33, un retour d'à peu près...
Il est en notre faveur, tantôt il est contre nous. Quand je vous parle d'un vent puissant qui virevolte, bien c'est la situation. Et vous en avez vu là une réaction.
Il y a infraction sur le jeu, le ballon est au 21 maintenant. Remise rapide à Ellis qui court bien. Il se rend jusqu'au 39. Un retour, enfin une course de 18 verges. Est allé chercher un autre 8 verges.
Ceux qui sont à la gauche du stade, dans quelle direction? Ils sont complètement à l'opposé de ceux qui sont à l'autre bout du stade. Ça vous donne une idée du vent qui virevolte.
Et Ellis porte le ballon, tente de gagner le premier jeu, c'est fait. C'est gagné. Il s'est rendu compte qu'il a repris de lui-même et il a couru de ce massacre en première demi. Mais Montréal est revenu en deuxième demi et quand même montre de belles aptitudes, de bons joueurs. Ça va s'améliorer. Ballon passe. Elle est très longue. Presque interceptée, Pierre, cette passe manque un petit peu de force.
Oui, la montre. Green est très rapide, mais on voit que Meacham joue très bien, se passe à l'intérieur, voit le ballon venir. Et sur le jeu, Joe Pao a été blessé le corps arrière.
Oui, et Green, c'est la première gagnée. Hamilton a battu Montréal 49-31. On disait que Montréal allait battre Hamilton, qu'on avait choisi pour terminer dernière. Mais on verra avec Brock en forme, on ne sait jamais. Et Edmonton dans le meilleur match jusqu'à maintenant avec Ottawa hier 32-31 sur un placement de Cutler dans la dernière minute de jeu. Un superbe match de football. Perdu par Brazeley, repris, s'en va à l'aile. Il a besoin d'un bloc et d'un bond. Infraction de signaler, ce sera contre Toronto, je présume. Pour avoir fait du blocage par derrière, mais c'est à confirmer. Toronto, quoi qu'il en soit, se retrouvera très loin. 7-0, Toronto mène. Perce à gauche, après une feinte à droite. Barnes la passe. Oh, quel plaqué! Est-ce qu'on juge que c'est attrapé? Je pense que oui. Il avait Pearson. Ça, pour voir ça, Pierre. Ça vaut en gymnastique un 9.7.
Oui, un salto arrière.
Regardez
bien. Le contact très bas de la part de Frank McDermott. Réception au sol sur la tête. Et évidemment, l'arbitre a jugé que c'est le sol qui a fait échapper le ballon à Pearson. Donc, il n'y a pas d'échappée sur le jeu.
Un gain de 15. Et il est blessé, Pierre. Il est toujours au sol. Les soigneurs sont là. J'espère que c'est pas sérieux. C'était spectaculaire. Revenons au match Ottawa-Edmonton. Pierre, moi, c'est un match qui m'a plu énormément parce que c'était... oui, il se cherche. Il ne sait pas où, dans quelle province il est ou dans quel pays. Pierre, le match d'hier, selon moi, a été un match disputé remarquablement parce qu'il y a eu de bons jeux. Donegan va vraiment emballer. Watt a bien joué aussi, même s'il a fait une mauvaise passe à la fin. Bref, un bon match de football. Vous d'accord?
Oui. Le premier quart a été à l'avantage des Riders, le deuxième Edmonton, le troisième des Riders, et finalement, ça s'est terminé avec ce placement de Cutler.
Brian Kelly a marqué 4 touchés. Raté complètement. C'était pour Bronk. Et la passe, c'était un petit peu centre.
Que de voir cette passe-piège à droite ou à gauche n'est pas assez rapide selon moi, mais au centre du terrain, il se fait très bien.
Là, il n'y a plus de demi. Là. Il y a 4 receveurs à droite, dont 2 qui restent comme bloqueurs. Et Barnes cherche, fait la passe, réussit, Greer sa première. Non, pas bon, dit l'arbitre. Il avait un pied probablement sur la ligne blanche, Pierre. Je ne sais pas quel...
Live from Taylor Field in Regina, the Toronto Argonauts, Saskatchewan Roughriders, opening game of the 1984 season. We have 4:58 remaining in the second quarter. As you see, the Argos, thanks to a Jan Carinci touchdown, leading the Roughriders. And right now, the Argonauts are into a punting situation as they're 3rd down and 10 from their own 48-yard line.
It's been a real good football game to this particular point. It's up and down the field, and I think that this kicking game is very important. It's a windy day here again at Taylor Field.
Angelisic's punt, it's a beauty, driving Fran McDermott back into the end zone, where he has trouble fielding the football and will just pounce on it, give up the single point. It's now an 8-0 ball game.
Dale, let's take a look how the Toronto Argonauts scored the only major of this ball game. Frenchie, just on a little short pattern, was only a 2nd and 3 from the 3-yard line, and you'll see Carinci at the left of your screen, number 27, working against McDermott, number 3, and Barnes does a good job of rolling to his left. That was Carinci's 3rd catch in the Toronto Argonaut drive, so he's certainly a candidate as a Carlin O'Keefe offensive star of the game already. He did not start in this ball game, but he's certainly been the key figure offensively for the Argonauts.
Right now for the Argos, Emmanuel Colbert and Paul Pearson, their starting slot backs, are out of the game with injuries. Here's the pitch from Joe Pao to Craig Ellis, trying to turn the corner. Nicholson is there, reverses his field. Now he needs some blocking. He could have a lot of room to go. Paul Bennett got over there to bring him down at the 45-yard line.
All right. Well, you don't got the key block on that play? Joe Pao. What a super block by the Scored Samoan. Watch when he turns around and goes back to the right side. If you could pick up number 6 at the top of your screen, he gets an absolute key block for Ellis right at the top left of your screen. There he is right there, number 6. Way to go, Joe.
Craig Ellis is having a good day running the football.
And Joe Pao 1 for 1 in blocks. Knocked him down right there.
Back to the live action. Greg Beeger takes the handoff from Pao this time, and right up the middle of the field, a gain of a couple.
Dale, we haven't got the hurricane situation that prevailed in Calgary on Friday night, but it's a pretty formidable wind blowing here at Taylor Field, too, favoring the Argos here in the second quarter.
Dale Isaac with Frank Rigney, Jack Goda, and Al McCann at Taylor Field in Regina. 3:06 remaining until halftime.
Steve Fraser back in the ballgame. They like to go to him on critical situations, and this is a tough one.
Fraser open middle. He just slipped out of there right into the opening for a first down.
Coming from that slot back position, he got behind those linebackers and underneath that deep coverage. And that's the second key catch, Jocko, that Fraser's made in this ball game to keep a drive alive.
As I was saying before, Jerry Keeling told me that's the guy they like to go to in a tough situation, and he delivered.
23-yard gain, 8-0. The Argos leading the Riders. We'll be back in just a moment. Big catch by Stu Fraser for 23 yards, brought down by Lamont Meacham, gives the Riders a 1st and 10 at the Argo 38.5-yard line. Head coach Ruben Berry now down on one knee. Robert Reed, the rookie running back, the Riders' #1 draft choice, number 19, standing in behind the coach. 2:52 remaining in the second quarter. Pawpaw was shaken up momentarily a few moments ago. He's back into the ball game, as you see. Quickly to the far side, Tim Kearse, the intended receiver, and Pawpaw just threw it out of bounds.
I felt Meacham might be laying off of him a fair amount because Kearse does have that great speed, but a poor throw by Joe, one of the few this afternoon's ball game.
When he's going to throw the ball into the flat, if he doesn't really have it, he's going to throw the ball away. That's a good move. You got to come back and get it now. And
I guess he's tired, Jocko, from all that blocking.
That's right. Let's see when he goes to number 11 again. They got to bring Stu Fraser back to the ball game.
Good blitz was on Pawpaw. Nicholson was there before Pawpaw could do anything.
Here's the quarterback, Pawpaw. Number 72 is Darrell Nicholson.
You'll see Nicholson, who usually I should say, gets down in a three-point stance. This time he lines up in the middle of that defensive line. The big middle linebacker in his second year just comes in there. Absolutely nobody blocking him. Roger Aldag and Skullroot split the seams, and Nicholson came up in there scot-free. Big loss for the...
I saw the offensive back, saw the guy go on by. Frank and I could just say, watch out!
That was Greg Figger. Took a good look at Nicholson going by. Badawich's punt. Paul Bennett. Bennett is stopped inside the 10-yard line. It's not very often you'll see Bennett lose yardage after fielding a punt. 35-yard kick and a -5 on the return. Paul Bennett, the all-time leading punt returner.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with that comment. I think, number one, the great thing that Paul Bennett does is field the football. The second one is that he goes up the field with it. He really doesn't break a lot of long punt returns, but as you can see, his record is matched by no one.
Shenley winner last year is the outstanding Canadian while with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
It's a game of field position. We got to see if Saskatchewan hold these guys down in here right now.
Again, Barnes gets outside to contain. Finds lots of room to throw this one to Terry Greer, his first catch of the afternoon for a pickup of 20. Greer had 113 receptions last year and 18 in preseason. That's his first of the 1984 regular season.
See, Paul, there's been a lot of hits, and a lot of them have been on the receivers of the Argonauts. Cerenci took a heck of a blow earlier, and then Paul Pearson got hit by McDermott a little earlier. It looks like he might have a concussion from this hit as he landed on his head. We'll get a medical report for you a little later in the ball game.
Barnes is doing a super job of getting outside the defensive ends, and he completes another one downfield to Jan Carinci, and that's what he's been doing right from the outset, Jocko.
What Barnes is doing effectively now is that he's sprinting out to the wide side of the field.
Apparently, it is confirmed now that there is a suspected concussion by Paul Pearson, so we may not see him back in this ball game.
Frank, I just talked to Freddie Dunbar, the trainer. I talked to Paul. He chose not to come on with me because he is a little bit woozy, but he says he's going to be all right.
Oh, they're giving them those, give me what day of the week it is, and 10, 9, 8 counts down there.
This is Carinci, inside handoff, big hole. The safety man, Fran McDermott, making the hit. First down for the Argos at the Saskatchewan 48.
I like what Barnes did on that particular play. He started like he's going to come out and roll out again and hand it back to the back, and they really get those defensive linemen coming upfield with a big gap in to run, and that's exactly what Carinci picked up.
Unusual play, Jocko. They don't run those slot backs very often.
That's right.
Traps up the middle.
Straight drop this time, setting up the screen to Lester Brown, and he's got running room to the Saskatchewan 33 where he slips down. Another first for the Argonauts, a pickup of 15. Lester Brown, who led Montreal in rushing the past 2 years, now with the Argonauts. 5-year veteran out of Clemson. Conrad Holloway. Watching as Joe Barnes quarterbacks the Argos. Into the last minute of play here in the first half. Here they come. And they're picked up wide open, but the pass was thrown a little too high. Trying to go up for it was Carinci again. He's really been the offensive performer here in the first half for Toronto.
Jocko, they brought everybody, so you know you had man coverage in that defensive backfield.
And what it does, though, it really forces them to get rid of the ball quickly, and they just didn't get a good, accurate throw in there.
One of the interesting things in watching the Saskatchewan defense this afternoon is watching Ken McEachran and where he lines up. He's not in his normal safety position. He's playing that rover back, and they're hiding him all over the field.
Number 30 from the 32. Sidearms it to Carinci for a first down at the 12-yard line. This drive started at the Argo 9. They're now at the Saskatchewan 12 after a pickup of 21 by Carinci. We have 35 seconds remaining.
See if you can pick up now on McEachran, number 30. He stops back to the outside in that zone defense, and Carinci finds a seam between he and Glenn Suter, number 4. Good gain once again as you see the rover kind of roving back there, John.
That's exactly right. He let the receiver run right downfield. He could have taken a good legal shot and really jammed him from getting further downfield down there.
Coming up at halftime yesterday in the CFL feature in this show, Danny Nikolic, the offensive tackle at the Argos, back from 1955 to 71. Frank and Jack will have the highlights of this first half, and Al McCann will be around with the CFL this week. That's all coming up at halftime, so stay with us. 35 seconds remaining in the second quarter here at Taylor Field. Junior football action in Canada, all set to go. Saturday, July the 7th, Windsor AKO will be playing the Junior Concords in Montreal, and then on Saturday, July 14th, the Junior Concords will be at home against the Hamilton Hurricanes. Fine junior football action coming up in Eastern Canada.
Be interesting to see if Barnes sets a wide formation with a lot of receivers coming out to the right side of the football here and tries to get one of those receivers back into the short side of the field to their left. That's exactly what he's rolling to the wide side now.
Floods the wide side with receivers, and Bob Gronk just dropped the football.
Jocko, when you see them flood that right side like that, and they've got no backs back there to help as far as pass protection is concerned, you'd think they'd bring some backs, some linebackers really quick and try to get in Barnes' face a little quicker.
Exactly right, and that's a good thing, and also to come off his backside, so if he likes to turn sometime and go back to the lone receiver, which is Terry Greer on a man-on-man situation, then you got somebody in his face when he turns back.
Pearson's still out of the ball game. Colbert's back in after being shaken up in the first quarter.
Here's your strong right again. Nobody back there to help Barnes. Now he's bringing some back. Maybe you heard us talking.
That's right. Help.
He just got the snap off in time. Carinci taking that inside handoff once more. Gets down to the 6-yard line. He's well short of the first down. The field goal unit will come in. There was 1 second left on the 20-second clock on the snap of the ball.
Barnes obviously thought he saw something, Jocko, and changed his formation at the line of scrimmage, trying to bring Carinci back to that inside shot again. Did not work this time.
So this drive, which started on the Toronto 9-yard line, finally stalls at the Saskatchewan 7. Hank Olisic will be trying for 3 points here. 14-yard attempt. Carinci doing the holding. No problem at all for Hank Olisic. So with 6 seconds remaining in the quarter, the Argonauts now have an 11-0 lead over the Roughriders. Joe Pau getting instructions from head coach Ruben Berry as he's sent in. The Roughriders will have time for 1, possibly 2 plays. Friday night, Calgary defeated Winnipeg 24-17. Last night, Hamilton 49, Montreal 31. And Edmonton defeating Ottawa 32-31. Highlights coming up at halftime.
Well, the start that Hamilton got on the Montreal Concord just looked awesome, didn't it? Al will tell you all about it in just a few minutes.
Riders from their own 35. They've only been across center field once in this first half. This is Craig Ellis. Gets it up to about the 43. And that leaves 1 second on the clock.
Here comes the Hail Mary play. And to just unload that ball, send 3 or 4 receivers out one side and just let her put a lot of air under it and let her go deep downfield.
Second down and 2.
This will be the final play of the first half. Pawpaw has to step up and throw long. Craig Ellis, he has got it, 30-yard line. Time runs out. So it's a pretty good game for Craig Ellis. And
all in the accounting,
7-yarder.
That's all that means.
With the score, Toronto 11, Saskatchewan nothing. In a moment, yesterday in the CFL with Danny Nicoluk.
Nothing here at Taylor Field in favor of the defending champion Toronto Argonauts. But Jocko, I thought in the first quarter, which was scoreless, that the Regina or the Saskatchewan Roughriders, particularly Ken McEachern at that rover back, were confusing Joe Barnes and that Toronto Argonaut offense.
I think it took him about that long to figure it out that Kenny McEachern would go to the strength of the formation or to the wide field to what he thought they might be doing, because he had spent a year down there as a defensive back, and he plays against those guys really well. But Joe Barnes, the good operator that he is, he figured it out.
Well, he's been around the CFL for 9 years, and he started to figure out a little bit about that Saskatchewan defense. We'll show you how he started to pick it apart right now. He fakes a screen to the left side and finds Paul Pearson over the middle this time. Great fake.
Yeah, that's kind of an option play, Frank. You know, you either got the screen or you come back and you run the hooking pattern, and it's a pretty effective play, and Paul Pearson makes a good reception on this one.
Unquestionably the star offensively for the Toronto Argonauts in the first half, Jan Carinci. Watch this hit by Steve Johnson after he makes a reception.
Saskatchewan is hitting. You'll see that in a couple other plays later on. It's a good football game.
The next one, Jocko, the touchdown, a very simple pattern, but very effective.
Right, just about a 3 or 4 yard play for a touchdown. Joe Barnes just runs out here and just catches Carinci again.
That made it 6-0. There was another single that made it after the extra point, then made it 8-0. This hit on Paul Pearson, and we reported shortly before we came on the air that Pearson had been shaken up, had a small concussion. We're happy to report that it is not that serious. He will be back in the second half for the Argonauts. And your favorite man for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Stu Fazer, put him in pretty good shape. Looked like they had field position after this one.
It's like Jerry Keeling is saying that this is the guy they like to go to in a critical situation, keep ball possession. Stu Fazer does a good job here.
Unfortunately for Rider fans, the Argonaut defense sacked Joe Powell, and they could not get any points out of that. Jan Carinci as a ball carrier this time. By the way, he had 5 receptions for 59 yards and 2 running plays for 19 yards. That play set up an excellent field goal by Hank Alisic. It has not been an exciting football game, really, Jocko, from an offensive point of view. Saskatchewan looked like they were going to try to run over them in the first half.
And you can't do that. I think Toronto's defense is sometimes it's misaligned. It's a good defense. They bend a little bit, but they haven't allowed even one single point against them at this point.
Thanks, Jocko. We're looking for a lot more offense in the final 30 minutes, but right now, here's Al McCann in the CFL This Week.
The CFL This Week with Al McCann.
Well, the first weekend of the new season has provided lots of fireworks and 2 upsets. On Friday night, it was the Calgary Stampeders upsetting Winnipeg 24-17. And then, of course, we had 2 games yesterday. In the first game at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, the Tiger Cats came out rolling. Dieter Brock hit Rufus Crawford on this touchdown strike, 7-0 very early. And, of course, it went downhill for the Concords from there. Don Sweet had this punt blocked by Mark Streeter. Gerald Best picked up the touchdown. It was 14-0 at that point. And it never rains, but it pours for Joe Galat. Felix Wright intercepts Turner Gill's pass and sets up yet another Tiger Cat scoring play. There's the interception and the run back setting up this play. It was Brock, and once again on the receiving end, Rufus Crawford, 21-0, and the Montreal Concords did fight back, but lost to Hamilton 49-31, a very high-scoring affair. A very exciting game in Edmonton last night. In the first quarter, George Brancato's Roughriders got off to a quick start as speedy J.C. Watts hit Dave Newman. A 15-yard touchdown pass made it 7-0. But the Eskimos were not dead. Matt Dunnigan in the second quarter hit Brian Kelly. 35 yards, major score. It was Ottawa 14-7 at that point. Still in the second quarter. Dunnigan again to Kelly. His second touchdown, covering 21 yards. The score was tied at the half at 14. In the fourth period, Kelly gets his third touchdown, a 65-yard pass and run affair, and Ottawa were ahead by 2. Still in that fourth quarter, Dunnigan on Kelly, a fourth touchdown, 16 yards with great second effort. Eskimos down by 2, but a Cutler field goal put them ahead. With 11 seconds left, J.C. Watts from the 26-yard line of the Eskimos forgot about the field goal, was intercepted by Laurent Delorier, and the Eskimos won it by 1 point. The Eskimos play in BC Friday. You'll see that one on CTV while Calgary plays in Ottawa. And then, of course, on Sunday, we will have Saskatchewan at Hamilton, the CTV televised game, and Toronto playing the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg. The Rothman Stars of the Week will be back with us. In a couple of days, we'll know who are the offensive stars, and it's going to be awful tough picking them this week because we've had a lot of great individual performance. Offensively, you've got to consider guys like Brian Kelly. He had 6 catches last night for 165 yards and 4 touchdowns, but he'll be pressed by players like Bernard Quarles and Rufus Crawford. Defensively, I thought that Laurent Delorier and James West played well, but how about Aaron Brown of Winnipeg? 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, an all-around great game in a losing effort, and there was some outstanding lineman play too, so I leave it all up to the selectors, and that is Peter Mueller, Zeno Karsh, and Ellison Kelly. They'll have to decide. The CFL on CTV returns with half number 2 in just a moment.
Back live, Taylor Field in Regina, where the defending Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts lead the Saskatchewan Roughriders 11-0. Hank Olisic will kick this third quarter off. And he'll put it deep to the far side, and it bounces out of bounds near the 15, and they'll have to do it all over again. Bit of a wind condition here at Taylor Field, which there usually is as you look at the first half stats.
Well, Dale, a little bit of that statistical story is unfair because, as you know, the Riders picked up about 35 yards on the last play of the first half, which was totally meaningless. Toronto really did dominate the football game.
Joe Barnes at the controls for the Argos. And he had a very nice drive to end the first half with. From their own 9-yard line, they ended up kicking a field goal from 14 yards out. Just 6 seconds left to go in the opening half. So here's Hank Olisic from the 40-yard line this time. Puts it high and deep down the middle. Sammy Green from the 4-yard line. The only man in the West last year to return a kickoff for a touchdown while he was with the BC Lions last year, and he's stopped by Nicholson at the 18-yard line. Joe Pow will lead the offensive unit onto the field to get this third quarter going.
It'll be interesting to see what halftime adjustments have been made. I'm wanting to find out if they're going to go into a couple different formations and pose some problems to the Argo defense, which they haven't the first half. They got to get some motion into their game and get out there and start rolling with Pow a little bit and try to find some of those people downfield.
Time for Pow looking for Ellis. A little bit overthrown down the sidelines. Again, Pow getting real good protection back there. There were occasions the first half he had all day.
Well, he likes that play-action type of thing, but Joe basically likes a drop state back. You know, he's not really as talented as some quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League at rolling and throwing the football.
The little half roll is a pretty effective thing. He can reach the wide side of the field with that and then still not lose throwing back into the short side of the field.
His arm looks as strong as ever, Jocko, if not better than he has his entire 7 years in the Canadian Football League.
Pow did get shaken up briefly in the first half. This time he loses the football. Throws it forward to Craig Ellis for a gain of a couple on the play. He just pitched it to him. And Nicholson was there to bring him down for the Argonauts.
He got buried again. It looked like Earl Wilson, number 58 back there. Joe should be called for double dribble on the play, no question about that. And then he gives a shovel pass forward.
And Nicholson really comes up and puts a hit. Woo.
Earl Wilson slow leaving the field on the far side as you look at Nicholson again. David Boone was the first man to make the hit on Craig Ellis. Boone, of course, starting this ball game for the Argonauts after being cut by the Eskimos. He's just been in Toronto since Wednesday. Dave Badowitz, the second-year man for the Riders, with a good punt. Paul Bennett back at his own 30. Slips and goes down at the 40-yard line. 59-yard punt by Dave Badowitz. It's 11-0. Toronto leading Saskatchewan. We'll be back in just a moment.
the Toronto Argonauts, David Boone, ex-Eskimo. David, you haven't had much time to get ready for this game.
Not much time, but it's a pretty simple defense, and I'm picking it up pretty well.
Actually, you guys have done a good job. I thought they confused your offense a little bit, but they're coming on now.
Yeah, well, the defense is an attack-type defense. We don't care what the offense runs. We have to get our defense and get it executed.
I hope you have a good year, Dave.
Thank you very much. Hi, Nathan Howard. How you doing?
First down for the Argos. They're 40-yard line quickly. He throws it to Corinci a little bit behind him. Ken McEachern was right there to put the hit on the receiver. Incomplete pass, second down and 10.
Maybe that's one of the adjustments made at halftime. Maybe McEachern's going to follow Corinci all over the field.
That's exactly right. In other words,
a bad idea.
That's good thinking. In other words, the run and shoot is this. Their defense, you're trying to read the defense. See, you beat a defense by flooding the zone or beating the man. So when they send out a group of receivers one way, they want to flood the zone if they read zone or beat the man coverage on the short side of the field.
Second down 10. Barnes wants to throw back and will run with it instead. He's got a first down. Eddie Lowe catches up to him at the 51-yard line. It's a gain of 11 yards for the veteran Toronto quarterback, who was the offensive star of the game in the 1983 Grey Cup, as the Argos won it over the BC Lions. 9-year pro out of Texas Tech, Joe Barnes. He's one of 7 former Saskatchewan Roughriders playing with the Toronto Argonauts. And off to Lester Brown, he's another one. Tackled by Matthew Teague, who started this game at right defensive end for Saskatchewan after being acquired from the Argos not too many days ago. There are 5 ex-Argos playing for Saskatchewan, and 3 of them starting on defense. McEachern, Teague, and Rick Moore.
The Argos continually look to see if they got a man coverage on Carriger number. If they just got one-on-one out there, they're going to go to her. They got to get help, double up underneath or on top or something.
Second down and 5. Penalty marker is down. Barnes finds Emmanuel Tolbert wide open at the 30-yard line. But they're going to bring this one back, a holding call against Toronto.
You may have seen that double motion, which is somewhat confusing in that Argonaut defensive backfield or offensive backfield. Ken McEachern, who we're trying to follow, who is the rover back, watch his adjustment now. He finally comes out to the outside on the lower part of your screen. We didn't really pick it up that well in that picture, but he dropped to the hook zone on that side.
Holding
the middle open.
44, Toronto. Downs 2.
Mike Hamelick, right guard, number 44. Second down and 15, Toronto. The ball now back at the Argos 46. Terry Greer has got 1 pass so far in the game. He splits off wide to the right side. Greg Holmes is now in at the wide receiver left position. Rush on Barnes, Teague, and Rick Goltz get to him about the same time. Rick Moore following up on the play, a further loss.
Once again, Jocko talked about the adjustments made at halftime. McEachern is coming to the outside here, doubling up on Corinci on the underneath coverage, and it worked very well. Gave the Saskatchewan Roughriders time to get in there and put a big sack on Joe Barnes.
Most of the time in the first half, Jocko, Barnes was rolling outside that containment.
That's right. They set a little bit wider, and they're really just taking a toll and coming upfield a lot better the second half.
So you look at the coverage downfield on that last play. Here's Hank Olesic going to run with it. He's got a long way to go to get a first down. He just got back to the original line of scrimmage. That's all. The ball will go over to the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Billy Jackson, the newcomer linebacker, got over there plenty of time to put him out of bounds, number 45.
And that'll go into the books as actually the first turnover of the ball game, as it was 3rd and long, and Hank Olesic trying to run for the first down, came up 10 yards short. So the Riders take over the ball in Toronto territory. And they haven't been there very often this afternoon. They haven't been able to move the ball that well.
It's a great opportunity. Let's see what they do with it. On first down, I want to see if he gets the ball up in the air some more on first down.
Papa with a deep drop. He wants to go long. Down the sideline. Great catch by Chris DeFrance. No, they really lost control of it.
Well, what a great effort, though, Dale. Unbelievable. Wow. That's Chris DeFrance, and look at the shot. As you can see, a good call by the officials, but boy, what an effort by Chris DeFrance. Daryl Wilson, number 13, providing the defense for the Argonauts. Look at him stretch out. You know, Jocko, there was talk about Chris DeFrance, as great a receiver as he is, not making this ball club earlier in training camp. I just can't believe that.
Well, a lot of coaches do that to a lot of the great veteran players. That happens all over the city. Try to pump those guys up for one reason or another. The good ones are staying.
A little pressure on them.
That's exactly right.
DeFrance has been noted as a slow starter every year he's been here. Sammy Green makes the catch for the first down. Forced out of bounds quickly by Meacham, number 18, at the 32-yard line. It's a pickup of 19 yards, but of course, Chris DeFrance, even though he starts slow and did not even play the last 2 games last year, but 3 years in a row now, he's caught over 1,000 yards in pass reception.
Meacham gave Green an awful lot of room on that play, but I don't blame him. Green could
They
fly.
Clark used to call him Mr. That Green is one of those guys catches the ball and puts it in the end zone for you. Craig Ellis is another one like that.
Ellis has been the main receiver here this afternoon for the Saskatchewan Roughriders with 3 catches for 42. That was Sammy Green's first catch, a 19-yard gain. 10-17 remaining in the third quarter. 11-0. Argos leading Saskatchewan. Riders first and 10 at the Toronto 32.
I like the adjustments that Saskatchewan has made both offensively and defensively at halftime. Offensively, they're saying, well, let's get the ball up in there. Let's throw it. Let's do it on first down a lot, too.
There's your motion, Jocko.
Yeah.
Wilson with the heat on Pawpaw, and it's almost picked off by David Boone. Wilson was right in Pawpaw's face, and it looked like he even grabbed a face mask there for a moment.
Pretty good pressure by Earl Wilson on Pawpaw. You know, Dale, you talked about, here's that pressure. You talked about David Boone switching teams late in the preseason, but you know, most of the front four of both of these ball clubs have played for other teams. Franklin King, Boone, and Goldsmith, all for the Argonauts. Rusty Olson, Goltz, and more on the other side of the ball.
Pawpaw just releases it to Craig Ellis. He needs a block, and he has got a first down inside the 20-yard line. Stu Fraser got back and helped him out a little bit with a block. That's a gain of 14 yards.
I'll tell you, Craig Ellis, as we talked about before, he's one of those 185-pound guys, but he'll juice it upfield. Oh, boy, he's a competitive little guy, and Pawpaw is doing a good job.
Joe did the smart thing. He gave it to a running back to run, but he didn't want to take off with it.
Let's go to Al.
How about Jan Chiriz? You had a great first half, Jan. You have 5 receptions, a couple of running plays. Are they double covering you now?
No, they're not doing anything different. We just got to get back out there and execute like we did in the first half. Everything will be fine.
Is that really much of a factor, Jan?
Yeah, it is. It's rolling around quite a bit. You really can't tell which way it's blowing right now. We'll be okay. We just got to punt the ball when we're supposed to punt the ball.
Good first half.
Thank you.
Craig Ellis picks up 3 yards, and Earl Wilson is now down on the field. He was shaken up on the previous play and did not go down on one knee, but now he's obviously in a bit of pain down there.
We were talking before about the defensive linemen coming from one club to another club and things such as that. I was talking with George Perlis, who is the coach of defensive linemen with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he told me one thing. Those defensive linemen, what I want them doing is just taking a toe hold and coming on. In other words, just like a bunch of sprinters. And that's exactly what David Boone was saying when he was interviewed, that he just has to come on and get upfield. It's an aggressive type defense.
Wilson may have been hurt by David Boone, as a matter of fact. Looked like his own teammate with extra effort had come in and hit on Wilson. However, we're going to have a timeout. We'll be right back after this.
Peggy Lou is passing through to do her algebra. Peter Wilson's planning layouts at the store. They can do it all and lots more, 'cause it's a Commodore 64. Russell Warner's got a problem with geography, but the answer's coming clear right on the screen.
Commodore, bringing computers down to earth.
11-0 score, Argos over Saskatchewan. As you look at Earl Wilson now at the sidelines. We talked earlier in the first quarter before we went to the air about the situation with Vince Goldsmith going to Toronto, Rick Moore coming to Saskatchewan. Riders didn't feel Goldsmith could play defensive end in a 4-man front, but the Argos used him in that situation. Jocko?
I think it's just a matter of coach's choice. Some coaches like the big guys, and with some height and everything to knock the pass. Other guys want some speed and quickness on the field. Both are good football players.
Argonauts give them latitude to operate from the two-point stance, so Dale. You'll see that from time to time.
Right. Second down play for the Riders. Craig Ellis incomplete. Don Moen, the linebacker, providing the coverage, and Tim Kearse is all alone in the end zone saying, wait.
That's right, it's Tim Kearse. I don't know if we can bring back an end zone shot, but Kearse is standing back there dealing his own deck of cards. There's nobody with him.
Incomplete pass will bring on the field goal unit.
There he is down there. He's not signaling field goal. He's just a little frustrated by the whole thing.
Please, he's hollering. Please.
He's open only by 20 yards.
Dave Ridgway with Stewie Fraser holding. 27-yard field goal attempt coming up. It is good.
Not classic, but good.
Paul Bennett is arguing it. He thought it missed. But it's an 11-3 ball game. A 22-yard field goal attempt.
You know, Frank and Jack, I was really surprised when David Boone said to me that he could pick up the Argonaut defense because it was a relatively simple defense. Did that surprise you?
Not really. I think that we were just talking about that a minute ago. It's just take a toe hold and get on upfield in a hurry. In other words, at the snap of the ball, get moving upfield and be aggressive as David Boone can be.
I think, Al, it's a basic four-man front, and that's much easier for most defensive ends to adjust to than a three-man front where you've got a lot of different people coming from time to time.
11-3, Toronto leading. The Argos with the ball. Barnes gets away from pressure to the the 41-yard line for a gain of 6. Before he hit the turf, Rick Goltz was chasing him, number 63. Riders had the ball for 2:56 for a field goal. Jackson in on the tackle for Saskatchewan as well.
6 yards, it'll be second down.
Second down and 4. 7:39 remaining in the third quarter.
Paul Pearson back in this ball game for the Argonauts.
Barnes quickly to Terry Greer, has the first down, stepping out of bounds at the 46-yard line.
Still, I don't know if Paul Bennett was right or not about that field goal kick of the Riders. Let's take a look at it once again. See if it was good. He certainly didn't hit it cleanly. That's Hoyt Wilhelm, the knuckleballer, isn't it?
That's right.
Looks like it goes outside the post.
It certainly does from that viewpoint. Well, let's see if you can see the post as the ball is going by. Yes, you can. I don't know. I have to question that one. Woo!
Lester Brown. Eddie Lowe making the tackle, 50-yard line. Pickup of 4.
You know, when you're playing against the Argo football team, you have to key that fullback. Bronk will lead you to a whole lot of their offense, whether it's the passing stuff or, in that case, the running down. In other words, Bronk is leading the quarterback saying, we're going this direction. And I think that he'll take you to 90% of the stuff.
Bob Bronk now healthy after missing a lot of last season due to a leg injury. Argos happy to have him back.
Like that count.
Good play by Barnes, but he zinged it off the fingertips of Emmanuel Tolbert, and a penalty marker goes down. Eddie Lowe with the late hit on the quarterback.
Well, that's too bad. That's exactly what the Riders do not need at this stage in the ball game. They would have gotten possession with that incompletion.
Boy, that's a costly penalty.
Rough play, 42, Saskatchewan, first down.
Eddie Lowe, the middle linebacker for Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan tough doesn't mean that, you know.
Ball should have been caught.
So it's a first down for the Toronto Argonauts at the Saskatchewan 44. Argos lead by 8. Barnes under pressure now as the pocket caved in on him. He squirted through there, but is hauled down by Ken McEachern back at the 49 for a loss of 5. Riders are getting a lot more heat up front than they were in the first half.
Well, they did a pretty good job of picking up that rush initially, though. You watch them as they set up. Stop it right there. You'll see the blitz coming right here and being picked up right here. It was a good job by the defensive backfield to cause this sack. Always helps when everybody's covered downfield.
That's exactly The other thing is that Barnes just couldn't get any area to move out for. He had to look right down the middle.
2nd and 15. Barnes with that roll left wants to go back, and he gets away from 2 tacklers, 3, and he's still on his feet. Joe Barnes may have picked up a yard on the play, and he should have lost about 8.
Well, actually, Dale, I think he picked up about 5, but the fans here at Taylor Field not very happy with the Saskatchewan defense. Joe is not the most elusive of runners. We'll give him determined, but we won't give him elusive.
Look at making a wiggle here, but he takes a couple of good hits there.
3rd down and 10 from the Saskatchewan 44, so Hank Olesic will punt. Just may put this one right through the end zone. Brian McDermott, a yard deep. Runs right into Don Moen at the 4-yard line.
8 points down. I'd have given that one up.
45-yard punt and a 5-yard return. He should have given up 1. Score is 11-3 for the Argos over the Riders. We'll be back in just a moment. Toronto leading Saskatchewan by 8 points. Rider pride and Saskatchewan tough suffering a little bit this afternoon because the Roughriders have not been able to really do anything offensively. Powell's been good of 8 of 19, under 50% of his passes, and through preseason he was 63%. Right now the Riders will have to start deep in their own zone, 4-yard line, 1st and 10. Ball is loose. Powell had to turn and reach to try and make the handoff. And the ball pops loose, and they'll lose a couple.
That brings us right back to that last punting situation where sometimes you have to concede that single point to get field position and get back in the ball game. You know, there's an average of 9 punts for each team in a ball game, and you got to handle those things properly, and you got to have good guys on the field. And that's it. And they got themselves in a jackpot right now.
Lost 2.5 yards on that play. 2nd down. They're now inside their own 2. Trying to get out of here. 4:10 remaining, 3rd quarter. Up deep in the end zone down the middle for Chris DeFrance. He just couldn't get to it. And that'll bring on the punting unit.
Right now, that looks like a pretty confused offensive unit of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Argonauts are really putting it to them defensively.
They moved the ball really well early in the quarter, got down about the 20-yard line, and then from that point on, it just seemed like they choked a bit.
Riders had all kinds of time to get ready for this ball game. They haven't played. Their final preseason game was back on Monday, June the 18th, so they've had 13 days to get ready for this one. Penalty markers. The line of scrimmage. Not a great kick by Badowich either. Carl Brazeley back at the 50-yard line. Runs out of bounds with it at the 52. Looked like one of the Argos may have jumped across.
Well, I tend to refuse that penalty. He kicked it. The line of scrimmage was a 2-yard line. It was a 50-yard net kick. I don't know if I want to kick it again.
No, I don't think I would either. Not the way some of those snaps have been going back there either.
Badowich has hit the ball extremely well most of the afternoon. He did not do it this time, but boy, you average 50 yards net of return. You got to take it.
Procedure call against the Riders coming up.
Illegal procedure. Saskatchewan decline.
Well, I wouldn't have declined that either.
No, I would not have either.
If I was the Argonauts, I'd try to run that thing back again.
Make them punt it over.
The Argos will take over the ball at the Saskatchewan 52. Last-minute instructions from head coach Bob Obilovich to Joe Barnes.
Both starting quarterbacks this afternoon have gone down on 1 or 2 occasions, but have not been out of this ball game at all.
Jeff Townsend, the wide receiver right. Gary Greer split off to the left side. Coming back to Greer. He tried to set up that little hitch pass to Greer. Blockers were getting out there. He just didn't hold on to the football.
Chuckle, this is a formation that we've been talking about all the time with that strong right. This time they finally do what you suggested they might, come back to the weak side, get Terry Greer isolated. There's no help back there, but all they want to do is get Terry Greer the football and let him do it with his natural ability.
You saw Matthew Teague barreling down on him, and I think he took a look at him and maybe took his eyes off the football. Second down and 10. Too much time. Earlier in the ball game, the 20-second clock had wound down to 1 second left before they got the snap off. This time, Barnes doesn't get the play called in time, and they'll back them up a bit. 5-yard penalty into Toronto territory.
Count infraction, number 17, Toronto. Second down.
Saskatchewan has really done a good job defensively the second half. They've made some good adjustments out there. They got Joe Barnes looking and trying to find out where the weak spot is again, and they haven't found it this half.
That's right. Second and 15 now for the Argos. They fake to Paul Pearson, rolling left is Barnes. Matthew Teague got goal. Rick Moore got there as well, way back at the Argo 43-yard line.
Tucker, you got to start wondering if the Argonauts would consider making a quarterback change at this stage. They did a pretty good job in the first half, but they have not moved the football, as you pointed out. They, of course, have got Conrad Holloway in the wings. Quite a guy to have as
not a bad relief for him.
I mean, they've got a huge advantage over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Nicky Hall, who has not played at all during the '84 season. We wonder whether or not we'll see.
I just asked Paul Bennett when he came off the field a moment ago why they didn't make Saskatchewan kick again. He says maybe they're worried because I'm back there. I kind of doubt that.
Nice high kick by Olesic. Really hangs this one up there. Fran McDermott near the sidelines at the 30-yard line and gets it back out to about the 34. And he's forced out of bounds by a couple of Argos, led by Wilson and Mitchell. So with 2:24 remaining in the third quarter, the Argonauts leading 11-3, and Saskatchewan with the ball now from the 34. Brad McDermott heads to the bench, hoping that the offense can get something going here now, because the defense is doing its part here in the second half. Coming up next Friday, the very first Friday night home game for the BC Lions. Of course, they have to bye in this opening weekend. That'll be the Lions season opener. Roy DeWalt, the Lions against Matt Dunnigan and the Edmonton Eskimos. Of course, they were winners last night over Ottawa. Here's Craig Ellis breaking loose. One man back. Paul Bennett makes a great open field tackle.
Great misdirection play by the Riders offense, and if it had not been for Bennett, Ellis might have got at least another 20. Pulling those linemen from the left side. A great block by the left offensive guard, Roger Aldag, as he came around that side. A 30-yard gain for Craig Ellis.
Again, Paul Bennett did show his measure of worth by the secondary, made a great open field tackle there.
Ellis closing in on 100 yards rushing this afternoon. Here he is again. He sneaks through there. Again, the only man back is Paul Bennett, and he has to make the tackle or he's gone. 21 yards this time for Craig Ellis. Here's Nicholson, the middle linebacker. Bob Poley got him out of the way.
Bob Poley did get Nicholson out of the way, but it looked to me like the great offensive center of the Riders might have hooked him. Watch it. Watch as he blocks to his left side. Watch his left arm. I think maybe the officials missed one there, Jocko.
Into the last minute of the third quarter, the Riders now on the move. Alpha will put it up. Down at the 5, Chris DeFrance makes the catch at the 2-yard line.
Oh, that was great. A great reception.
Woo! 23 yards for Chris DeFrance.
When you're hot, you're hot.
You recall, gentlemen, when we were here a couple of weeks ago for a preseason game, there was about 5 or 6 tipped balls in that game. This is the first one that we've seen, but DeFrance does a great job of concentrating on that football. Big play for the Riders. They're right back in this ball game, taking it in the end zone.
Hey, they're pumped up here at Taylor Field. I love it. It's just a great feeling. You can feel it, boy, I tell you.
3 plays, 3 first downs. They're first and goal at the 2. Craig Ellis in the air did not make it. He was hammered back by, I believe, linebacker Nicholson.
Nicholson's exactly who that was, and what a hit. Ellis trying to go up and over.
That's the end of the third quarter. The score right now, 11-3 for the Toronto Argonauts over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And we're coming back with fourth quarter action in a moment.
Learning to use a keyboard can keep you at a crawl when it comes to using a personal computer. But now, Hewlett-Packard sets you free. Introducing the touchscreen personal computer, the Hewlett-Packard 150. By merely touching the screen, you can find an address, move a paragraph, change a forecast, make a chart with just your finger. Now nothing stands between you and what you can become. Hewlett-Packard personal computers, setting you free.
Well, you saw Craig Ellis try to get in that end zone going up and over. Watch 72 hit him. Oh! I think they'll try to run it again. Here they go.
Back for the first play of the fourth quarter. 2nd and goal from the 1. Ellis again in the air. Touchdown.
If you're denied once, just come on back and do it again, boy. I mean, if you got that kind of a guy that's hungry for the end zone.
Well, Jocko, the offensive line of the Riders did an excellent job against Toronto early in this ball game. Craig Ellis, who originally was recruited by the Edmonton Eskimos, and Jocko, you had him for a while. He's a great athlete.
He's a great athlete. They used him as a receiver up at Edmonton. We picked him up as a running back, which is his natural position from university. I want to make a great comment here, I think, anyway, that I've seen more good linebackers already this year, linebacking play, than I've seen in the last number of years. I mean, when you think of all the games this weekend, the plays of the Basses and the Hills and the West and the Browns and Jones and Harpers and Nicholsons and guys like that, I'm telling you, they put some hits on you.
And most of the guys you just mentioned are either in their 1st or 2nd year in this league.
Great players.
Earl Wilson out of the ball game again. Toronto shaken up once more as Dave Ridgway converts the touchdown by Craig Ellis. A 1-point lead now for Toronto over Saskatchewan here in the fourth quarter, and you're looking at the man that has brought this Taylor Field crowd to life, Craig Ellis.
And let's take a look at him in action. He was stopped once trying to go up and over, but it was an absolute straight head-on shot by Nicholson. That time, nobody could get a good enough piece of him. The Riders are right back in this ball game. We have an 11-10 score now, and Sammy Green's got him flying on the green bench.
That drive took 2 minutes and 42 seconds, 76 yards, 5 plays. Craig Ellis was the main man. Chris DeFrance made a superb catch inside the 5-yard line. This is the final game of the opening weekend of CFL action for 1984. We had Calgary winning on Friday night over Winnipeg, 24-17. And yesterday was Hamilton over Montreal in a high-scoring affair, 49-31. Heck of a show by Dieter Brock and the Tiger Cats offense. Edmonton getting past Ottawa, 32-31. Here this afternoon at Taylor Field, 11-10 score in the fourth quarter.
2 surprises out of the first 3 contests. Can we have another one?
Ridgway, short kick, looking for that opening spot. Finds Jeff Townsend, 25-yard line. He picks his way to about the 37. Al Johns downfield for the Riders.
Dale, the Argonauts still have the advantage of the wind, but it is not the factor it was at the outset of the game. The wind has slackened off to actually just a light breeze now, but it'll help them.
Remind you that the CFL Hall of Fame game is coming up a little earlier than usual. This will be held August 19th when the BC Lions are playing the Tiger Cats in Hamilton. Joe Cap, Tom Brown, Terry Evanston are the players to be inducted. Jake Godard, Seymour Wilson in the builder category. Back to Paul Pearson, hit from behind. Drilled to the turf by Kenny Hinton, number 28.
Chuck, what do you think he was thinking about there after being dumped the way he was in the first half? It seemed like that ball took about a half an hour to get out there.
All I know is just come back to the football, come get your heels up off the deck, otherwise you're going to be passing blood the next time you go to the toilet, I'll guarantee you.
Gain of 6 yards, 7 yards for Paul Pearson. Quickly, Barnes goes to Emmanuel Colbert. Steve Johnson is there to wrap him up right at the 48-yard line, very close to a first down.
By 17, Johnson.
It's great to get back in the regular season action because there are so many good hits on the field. In other words, the guys are really out and they're wound tight and really going after it.
Did you think James West put a couple on him Friday night?
James West is brutal. Woo. And Nicholson made some great hits today. And like I said before, I just seen great linebacker play in every game so far.
I really would not want to have the responsibility of picking the Rothman game stars when you see, particularly the defensive guys. There's been so many standouts.
Measurement indicates first down for Toronto.
Of course, we do have to pick those game stars, which we'll tell you about right after the ball game. That, of course, is the Carlene O'Keefe Sports offensive and defensive game stars. And there's some stars in the green on the sideline.
I like this. Jackson is a good young linebacker here with Saskatchewan, too. He's a good, tough hitter.
Barnes wants to go deep down the middle of Terry Greer. He's got him at the Saskatchewan 43. And Greer hurt himself.
He caught on that turf, Dale. You could see it just as he received the football. Extremely good traction on this surface here at Taylor Field, and you'll see Greer catch his left leg as he makes that reception.
Buckled under him.
Wide open, and the outstanding player in Canada, 1983, is being taken off the field. We certainly hope that's not serious.
113 receptions last year, had 18 in preseason this year.
Brian Kelly must have wondered what he needed to do in 1983 to be the top receiver, but he started off all right this
Boy,
year.
didn't he?
4 touchdowns, 6 catches, 100 and some odd yards.
First down, Argonauts. The ball at the Saskatchewan 44. Inside handoff to Bob Bronk. Billy Jackson, the man Jarko was just talking about, making the tackle, number 45. Gain of close to 6 yards. Jackson is the rookie out of Mississippi State. As it turns out, he's one of the reasons Frank Robinson is no longer with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Riders are very high on Billy Jackson. Second down play for the Argos, and Barnes has a lot of field over on that far side and gets rid of it to Lester Brown. The 9-yard line before he's stopped by Ken McEachern. Pickup of 29 yards.
Lester Brown showed a lot of athletic ability just to get open on that particular play. He started one way with the flow. He saw the quarterback was in trouble and broke out the other way, and he got in the same lane that the quarterback could throw to. And he evaded a couple of good football players there to make the catch.
Billy Jackson was trying to provide the coverage on Lester Brown, and he just outran him. 4 in a row now for Joe Barnes in completions on this drive. Pitch back to Brown. Stopped by 3 riders after a gain of 1 or 2.
Frank, what you were talking about earlier, the way that they made the adjustment with Kenny McEachern in the second half, I noticed that time. He got in good field position that time, shut down the wide play and forced it inside, and that was it.
You know, Bob Obilovich said that his biggest problem, he thought, coming into 1984 was obviously replacing Cedric Minter. He thinks Lester Brown can do a good job, and I agree with him as far as a pass receiver is concerned, but I don't think he has that same ability Minter had as a running with the football.
You guys
he's just not as big.
You guys do.
Barnes for Bronk, incomplete. There's a penalty flag goes down now. I think the Riders, Terry Urban, maybe called for interference here as he laid a hit on the receiver at the goal line, Greg Holmes.
I'm not sure if the ball was intended for Holmes, but I really think that Terry Urban got there a little quick. Watch it in the lower right part of your screen. No question the Rider was making contact at the goal line.
But the ball was touched by that first receiver, wasn't it?
Regina, number 32. First down.
Well, looks like Bronk touches it here.
Yeah, looks like the first receiver touches the ball. Well, like right here, so it looked like Urban had to push that guy out of the way, maybe to come up and make a play. I don't know.
If the receiver cannot make the reception, they're not supposed to call pass interference. However, in their judgment, it was interference by Urban.
So it's first and goal from the 1-yard line. Lester Brown has a touchdown for Toronto.
Well,
So 10-17 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Argonauts increased their lead to 7 points again, and we're awaiting the convert attempt by Hank Olisic. Nice drive by the Argos of 72 yards, 7 plays.
Exactly when you needed it, because the fire was lit under the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Watch Bob Bunker, 34, just lead him right up into that line of scrimmage. Makes contact at the goal line, and you need a big back like that down in close.
Joe Barnes did a heck of a job. Joe Barnes, when he has to do it, can do it, just like he did in the Grey Cup a year ago. Right? In other words, he can lead your team when you have to have it done.
Argos used up 4 minutes and 25 seconds on the clock here in the fourth quarter, as they now have an 8-point lead once again over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 18-10, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Big bomb bunk once again lead Brown into that end zone. Bunk number 34. Boom. That's McEachran, number 30. He met at the goal line. There wasn't much question about whether Brown would get in there.
18-10 the score for the Argos over the Riders. Here in the fourth quarter, 10-17 remaining, and Lissick set to kick off. And the wind blows the ball off the tee. The wind is gusting here at Taylor Field.
Dale, here on the Toronto bench, there's some concern about Terry Greer, naturally. He injured his lower leg between the ankle and knee. He's walking around, and the doctor's keeping an eye on him. He's not sure if it's serious.
Certainly hope it isn't serious. We want to see a player of that caliber out with an injury. Here's Sammy Green, 10 yards deep in the end zone. Brought down on a good tackle at the 17-yard line. A 27-yard return off a 75-yard kick for Sammy Green. Rob Forbes making the tackle, former Calgary Stampeder.
Forbes, a couple of years ago, was our leading hit guy on our specialty teams. That doesn't surprise me. He's a good football player and a good physical guy.
Next week, football action on CTV, Friday Night Football, the Eskimos and the Lions, BC Place Stadium. And then a week from today, Sunday, July 8th, the Saskatchewan Roughriders will invade Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton. So pop out at Tim Kearse, hit immediately by Leroy Paul. The gain on the play will be about 4 or 5 yards. Tim Kearse, former BC Lion, came over to Saskatchewan last year. San Jose State, 5'11", 185. He'll split off wide to the left side as Reuben Berry looks on. Nobody getting open until Kearse finds an open sideline, steps out of bounds. Wilson just got enough of him to force him out at the 43, a gain of 21.
That was really a beautifully thrown football. He really had a good touch on it. He could only get it in one spot to make his completion and get over the defense, and that's exactly what he did. Paul really touched the ball well on that one.
A lot of time to throw that football once again, which Joe has had most of the day. DeFrance didn't manage to get into the pattern. Moen knocked him down there, Don Moen.
Here's Craig Ellis again. He is hit at the line of scrimmage. Nicholson again.
33 is Craig Ellis.
Well, he's had a great football game at that middle linebacking spot, 72.
Another one of those great linebackers.
And when he hits you, you know it. He's 6'3", 235. Second-year man out of North Carolina.
But the thing that's making their passing game go a little bit better is the fact that they've had a good, effective running game to start of the second half, and it allows those guys to get those passes in there. I think we'll see another one this time.
Second down and more than 9 yards to go. Sammy Green, the intended receiver.
Well, they're trying to bring everybody and get a little bit of pressure on Joe Powell that time. You'll see Nicholson coming from the far side. You'll see the other linebacker, Don Moen, from the low side. And Saskatchewan does a pretty good job of keeping people out of there. Just the ball is not thrown that well by Joe. Behind the receiver. They're going to have to kick it away once again. There's 8 minutes and 22 seconds remaining now in this ball game. It's 18-10 in favor of the defending Grey Cup champion Argonauts.
Carl Brazeley has Badowich's punt go over his head and is back at the 14-yard line. Brazeley is hit by Eddie Lowe up at the 25. Score 18-10 with the Argos leading Saskatchewan. We'll be back in just a moment. That last punt by Dave Badowich traveled 53 yards and a return of 12, so the Argos are back at their own 24 now, 1st and 10. Nicholson done his job for the moment, is on the bench. The offensive unit led by Joe Barnes back on the field with 8:03 remaining in the fourth quarter. Ruben Berry checking things over. Badowich, number 38, the punter.
Talking to Greg Seeger as well. Let's see who that third rider was.
Dave Sigg, number 22. Inside handoff to Lester Brown, and he breaks loose out to the 45-yard line.
Boy, they've done a good job with that misdirection trap up the middle. That's about the third time that Terenzi has run it. 19 yards that time. Doctor's also run it on a couple of occasions.
But you could see Brown coming off to the short side of the formation. He led the play again, you know.
And he hit making the tackle. Lester Brown again. Didn't get away from Billy Jackson this time. Matthew Teague helping out on the stop. Last time the Argos had the football, they kept it for over 4 minutes and scored a touchdown. Right now, they're 2nd and 10 from their own 44.
Looking there, 2nd and 10.
7 minutes even remaining. Gary Greer out of the ball game. Injuries. The Argos have picked up offensive injuries here in this one. Colbert was out for a while. Pearson was out for a while. Lyons getting away from trouble and had a man open downfield, but Eddie Lowe knocked it away from him because Greg Holmes was wide open for at least a 20-yard gain.
Again, a great athletic play by a linebacker. Eddie Lowe just got a quick drop when he saw where Barnes was going with it. He really made a quick move and got about 12 yards deep and knocked that ball away.
Joe bought himself a little time to throw the football, but an excellent play by the young linebacker. Saskatchewan will get it back with about 6.5 minutes left.
Fran McDermott and Tim Kearse are the return men. Lissick hammers this one nice and high. McDermott, 16-yard line. Dropped at about the 23 by Steve Aykroyd, and it's a 49-yard punt and a return of 6 yards. So when we come back, the Riders will have the ball in their own zone. The score 18-10 Argonauts. We'll return in a moment. Canada Day here at Taylor Field. It's a 18-10 ball game in favor of the Toronto Argonauts. Terry Greer out with a leg injury for the moment anyway, and the Toronto defense out on the field. 117th birthday of this great country of ours.
Hey, happy birthday to us.
Hand off to Greg Feger right into the middle of that line. Franklin King got a hold of him. Picks up 2 or 3. There's a penalty marker down at the line of scrimmage.
You know, Dale, while we're going to have a bit of a delay and figure out that penalty, I just want to show you what Franklin King did on that play. Bob Poley, the offensive center there, the veteran, is blocking on him. Watch what great reaction King does. He goes to the right side. The veteran center sets him up. King gets off of that block and comes back to the other side. That's an excellent display of technique, defensive line technique, because he did have position on him, and he got away from him, got in on the tackle. Good job by...
He really does a good job there.
King. He's a former Stampeder as well, Jocko.
That's exactly right.
Saskatchewan, number 20. Down is 1.
Penalty against Chris DeFrance. Moves the ball back 10. 1st and 20 from the 12-yard line. Daniel Colbert was shaken up earlier in this ball game as well. It's a tough day on the Argo receivers.
As well as Paul Pearson.
Dave Verfeger picked off by Carl Brazeley at the Saskatchewan 43-yard line. First interception of the afternoon, and now we get Leroy Paul and Greg Feger going after each other.
This ball would have to have been thrown absolutely perfect, Jocko, for a completion. Just a little bit behind him.
Yeah. There's a little bit of wind in his face, too. You know, that kind of just held it up just a bit, too.
Well, I've got Terry Greer here on the sidelines. It's unusual to see you out of a ball game, Terry. You're a very resilient football player. I hope that's not a very serious leg injury and you're back soon.
Well, I don't think it's very serious. I just, my foot got caught in the turf and just twisted, and I heard something, pop a little bit, but I think it's going to be all right. The doctors looked at it, and they think it's all right.
Looked for a minute like they had you confused a little defensively, Saskatchewan, but you guys made some moves, and now you're moving the ball.
Well, we just wanted to work with the other guys. They was using me as a decoy mostly, and I was working right now. We're moving the ball pretty well, and as long as it's working, I'm satisfied.
Looks like it could be another really good team.
Well, yeah, I think we're going to be all right. We're just moving the ball right now. Just got to win this one.
Okay, Terry, good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Argos trying a big reverse. Jeff Townsend, Billy Jackson was there to shut it down. He did manage to pick up a couple of yards. 2nd down and 8 from the Saskatchewan 41. The last 5 minutes of the ball game. Argos leading by 8 points and trying to take advantage of the interception by Carl Brazeley, who was the defensive star of the '83 Grey Cup game for Toronto. Greg Holmes is the receiver this time as Barnes finds him wide open for an 18-yard gain down the middle to the Saskatchewan 23.
Again, on that, coming into that center pattern that time, I like what Holmes did, and I like what Barnes. He just brought him right back in and low and keep the ball low so they stay away from the interception.
Everybody going in motion towards the left side. First down, hand off inside again to Bob Bronk. Cut from behind by Rick Goltz and finished off by Steve Johnson at the 20 for a pickup of 3.
Dan Baroni, number 69, had a very difficult type of block to try to make on this play. Watch him. He's the offensive left guard just on the other side of Joe Barnes. He did a cross block with Tony Antunovich, and his man was Rick Goltz. Goltz got in on the play.
Second and 7. Down the middle, complete inside the 5-yard line to Lester Brown. Working against the linebacker again and just outrunning him. Billy Jackson, 19-yard pickup. The Argos are now 1st and goal. Joe Barnes has put together a couple of healthy drives here in the 4th quarter when he needed it.
He's come back to the things that have worked for him before, and that's a sign of an experienced quarterback.
Looks like Lester Brown will fit the pattern here pretty well.
It's Toronto 18, Saskatchewan 10 with 2:58 remaining. We'll be back right after this.
We know what, we know how, we know what we want, and we want it now. So only the best will do, and the best is that Pepsi taste that keeps coming through. Come on, Pepsi, you want the best taste? Come and make your Pepsi now. Come on, Pepsi, taste the best taste. Come and make your Pepsi now.
Into the last 3 minutes here at Taylor Field in Regina, the Argonauts threatening now 1st and goal from the Saskatchewan 1-yard line. They already have an 18-10 lead. Full house backfield. Lester Brown now goes and lines up at the tailback in the eye behind Bob Bronk, and it'll be Brown with the carry, and he's into the end zone, his 2nd touchdown of the afternoon. Former Montreal Concord and Saskatchewan Roughrider off to a fine start in 1984, now as a member of the Toronto Argonauts.
It's been a great day for the Argonauts. Once again, Bob Bonk leading him into that end zone. Little guy goes up and over, and that puts it away, I would think, for the Toronto Argonauts. 24-10 now. We have 2:50 remaining.
They used up 2:46 on that drive. Lester Brown has now carried 12 times, 53 yards, has a couple of touchdowns. He's also caught 6 for 87. Hank Olisic converts it. 25-10 for Toronto over Saskatchewan. Another look at the touchdown. You know, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will be watching this game with interest because their home opener next week is against the Toronto Argonauts, and Bombers were on the airplane yesterday and weren't too happy after what happened Friday night.
They got a really good football team.
They sure do.
The whole league is really, really interesting this year.
Flying touchdown. See 2 or 3 like that this afternoon.
Craig Ellis and Lester Brown are going to be a lot alike in the way they run. They like to get up in the air. They take some pretty good shots, and they're very durable.
I tell you what, though, they like those big backs leading them into that hole. They don't want to go in there naked.
Here's the kickoff by Elisic, and he powders this one over Sammy Green's head and through the end zone. Nobody touched it, of course, and will not go as a single point. 90-yard kickoff by Hank Elisic. That makes the job much easier for the coverage team, doesn't it?
It sure does. We never had anybody could kick it 90 yards when I was playing, but Elisic can do it with 2 steps.
5-yard line.
First and 10, Riders, 25-yard line, 2:50 remaining in the ball game.
You got to get on the scoreboard in a hurry.
Foul throwing to the far side. Sammy Green makes the catch in front of Lamont Meacham and steps out of bounds. First down at the 36. Powell will try to do that a lot now and move this team down the field in a hurry. Saw him do it in preseason quite effectively. That preseason, regular season, sometimes big difference. Been a big difference in Powell's performance. He was 63% passing in preseason. This time, Greg Seeger just lost the football. Trying to turn and run with it before he controlled it. Powell, the former BC Lion, signed with Saskatchewan as a free agent earlier this year. Under 50% this afternoon.
That doesn't help his percentage there when the guy drops the football.
Second down and 10. Lots of time for Powell. Coming back to the ball is Tim Pierce, and Leroy Paul did a good job of coming around and knocking it away.
Timing, just excellent timing by Leroy Paul. And speaking of timing, there's only 2:37 remaining in this ball game now, and the Riders are going to have to get rid of it again. A long throw for Joe Powell, and it was just too late getting there.
Guys are just backing off in the zone defense, just reading the quarterback, and then when the ball is thrown, boy, they're just really jumping out like you were saying, Frank. That's what you have to do.
1:30.
Braisley lets it take a big hop. Starts left. Paul Bennett throws a block for him. Braisley then just steps out of bounds at the 41-yard line. That punt traveled 47 yards, a return of 14. The Argonauts will go on offense in their own territory, 41-yard line. 2:26 remaining in the ball game. Head coach Bob Obilovich with the headset on the far side of the field.
Well, it would appear, Dale, that we're going to have a kind of a split. 2 upsets during the course of the first week as you look at Reuben Berry, who was hoping for an upset over Bob Obilovich and his Grey Cup defending Argonaut champion. Stampeders and the Eskimos certainly were underdogs in their victories.
Lester Brown, the ball carrier, picks up about 3 yards, and the Argos only won 1 game in preseason. Some concern that they certainly weren't looking like Grey Cup champions, but this afternoon they've certainly prevailed and offensively have come through with the drives and the scores when they needed them. The Riders closed the gap to 11-10 there for a while in the third quarter.
We got to turn the ball over on this one right here. I mean, they got to at least shut them down on this 2nd and 7 situation.
Second down. Inside handoff to Lester Brown, and he stopped after a gain of about 1 yard. 3 or 4 Riders were there to meet him this time, led by Al Johns, number 62. the right defensive tackle. So the punting unit will come in. The Riders will get the ball back with just under 2 minutes remaining. Fran McDermott and Tim Kearse drop back deep. Lester Brown limping a little bit. He's had a busy afternoon for Toronto.
They're down to 6.
Pretty healthy average this afternoon for Hank Olisic. Wind carried this one a little farther than Tim Kearse expected. Carrying it loosely, stopped right at the 20-yard line by Aykroyd once again. 50-yard kick that time and a 5-yard return.
It'll be Saskatchewan first and 10.
Foul. Throws, and it's picked off, then dropped. There were two Argos there, Wilson and Moen. Neither one of them could find the handle on it, and it goes as an incomplete pass. Tim Kearse, the intended receiver. Saskatchewan Roughrider publicity man, Ronnie Mans, asked us to pass along hello to his wife, Diane, who's visiting her parents out in Armstrong, BC. So we'll do that for Ronnie. Sammy Green cannot squeeze it this time.
He's just thrown up out there, and that outside pattern is open, but you got to make the catch out there. There's a well-thrown football.
Not getting a lot of help from his receivers right now.
Sammy looked like he was much more intent in taking that one and scoring with it before he got it.
The defensive front four just taking a toe hold and really putting on as much pressure as they can. They don't worry about draws or screens or anything like that. And then they got the backers backing off and kind of reading that kind of stuff too. They play that zone really well.
Brazeley again on the return. Tripped up. As he started left, Glenn Suter making the tackle, and it looks like Suter is shaken up on the play. He's a rookie safety for the Riders, number 4 out of Simon Fraser. Brazeley to the bench. Suter is down. Disappointed Taylor Field crowd starting to make its way home now. We have 1:14 remaining in the ball game, and the Argonauts leading by 15. The Argo offensive line going over some things on the Toronto side of the field. Suter back up on his feet, heading to the bench, and the Argonaut huddle is all set now.
The Riders got a good football team. They're going to be tough. I mean, anybody ever comes into here to think they're going to have an easy day, or when they come into their ballpark, I think they're going to be surprised because they got a lot of good, tough football players. And like you say, they were in it until that one 11-10er, they blew them out down there a little bit.
Well, first and 10, Saskatchewan 50.
Looks like it's going to take a while for Saskatchewan to get things rolling the way they want them to. First and 10 Argos at the Saskatchewan 50, and Lester Brown, the ball carrier once again, and Eddie Lowe is there to meet him along with Rick Goltz.
The other thing is this: is who you're playing, who's your opponent too. The team that they're playing today is a pretty formidable opponent. I'll guarantee you that.
Defending Grey Cup champions.
Yeah, they're tough.
I think the Argos really showed some depth there. They had all those injuries in the receiving corps in this ballgame. They really didn't miss a beat. Nicky Hall, the backup quarterback for Saskatchewan, not getting a chance to play this afternoon. Again, the ball carrier is Lester Brown. He stopped before he got back to the line of scrimmage by Ken McEachern and Rick Goltz.
They don't beat themselves, the Argos. You know, that's a sign of a good football team. They don't beat themselves, and from that standpoint, like Joe Barnes, when they had to get some things going, did it. They didn't turn the ball over crazily or things like that. They play the punting and the kicking game really well, and that makes them a solid team.
Another punt for Hank Olisic coming up here.
They can let Hank try a field goal from here, Dale, the way he's been hitting that ball.
Averaging 50 yards a punt. Van McDermott gets it back to the 20-yard line.
You know, the first time I ever saw Hank Olisic punting in a pregame deal, you know, I thought must have been 18 or 19 years old at the time. I really thought they had some kind of a gag that they had helium in a football or something. I'm telling you, that guy would really rocket the ball.
Time remaining, 21 seconds. 35-yard punt that time. Pop out of Craig Ellis down the middle. It's away from Lone, still on his feet. Has enough for a first down, just across the 30-yard line.
Spun him around to the point where Craig, I think, forgot which way he was going.
Wrong way, Corrigan, is it? Or the Wowee?
Nicholson also in on the tackle for Toronto. 12 seconds left.
It's first down.
Throwing Chris DeFrance. He had to go high in the air and got one hand on it.
Pass is just for number
4 seconds, time for one more play. On to Sammy Green, almost picked off by Carl Brazeley, and that'll do it. This football game now over. The Toronto Argonauts coming up with a victory here over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They led all the way. At one point in the third quarter, it was 11-10, but Joe Barnes put together two lengthy scoring drives to put it out of reach, and the Argos win it by 15 as head coach Bob Obilovich has to be a happy man to open the '84 season on the road with a victory.
Dale, you know, I thought that the Rider philosophy when they started this ball game was a very sound one. They tried to establish a bit of a running game, which where they were reasonably successful with just running straight ahead at the Toronto Argonauts. However, they could not capitalize that into an effective passing game. The Argonauts also started slowly offensively, but finally late in the first quarter, they did start putting together a pretty good drive, and Joe Barnes had them in the end zone very early in the second quarter. So that may be the experience of the Toronto Argonauts showed today. And of course, when you're playing the defending Grey Cup champions, you don't have to be upset that you're defeated when you have a ball club that hasn't made the playoffs in 7 years. But right now, let's have a little quick talk with the winning coach, Al McCann.
Well, thank you, Frank. I have Bob Obilovich with me. Bob, congratulations. You, like Jack Parker did last night, proved that the preseason record don't mean too much.
Well, we didn't really, you know, worry about that from a football team standpoint. We knew what we had to do to win games, and, you know, now they're count for 2 points, and I thought our team played really well today in spite of some adversity with injuries and things like that.
Well, Saskatchewan climbed right back into it and gave you a bit of a scare, and then you seemed to just kind of take over. What was the turning point there?
Well, I think the big thing was the wind was definitely a factor, and that's why we elected to give them the win in the ball in the third quarter. And I think when, you know, we were moving the ball well, there were a couple drop passes that probably could have given us drives that would have went in for touchdowns, but it was just one of those things. And when we got the one interception by Brazeley and then we took that march in for a touchdown, I thought that was, you know, we kind of had things under control then.
You ran the football, Obi, more than I expected.
Well, things they were doing defensively, they were giving us some of that stuff, and we have a lot of confidence in Lester Brown. He's an awfully quick player, and I think he's going to really complement what we do offensively, and I was pleased with his play. And I thought our depth on our football team, when Jan Carinci went in, when E.T. got hurt, and Greg Holmes went in when Terry got hurt, our depth is, and that's important in the Canadian Football League when you only play with 34 guys.
Actually, with that little confused situation on the punt, I thought it might kind of be disconcerting for you guys, but you straightened it right back up.
Well, it was disconcerting, believe me. You know, Hank got a little squirrely on us.
I think he forgot which marker was which.
Yeah, but he shouldn't be thinking about it. He should be kicking the football. The thing I was really pleased about, I thought our coaches did a heck of a job getting prepared this week. Dick Comar and Roger Thomas had our offense ready, and And Coach Moss and Dennis Meyer, they do a good job of their defense, and I was pleased playing away from home that we can win and be in control of the game.
It's early to say, Obi, but is this team going to be as good as your Grey Cup championship team?
I don't know, Al. We just take each game one at a time, and I just hope that we win enough football games by the end of the season that we're in a good position for the playoffs, and then we worry about that sort of thing later on.
I know you were pretty concerned about Saskatchewan. You knew they'd have a lot of fire going for them at home, and they did at times.
They've acquired some good football players, and the thing about it, they're guys that have been, the majority of them, from winning football teams. So, you know, that's going to help them, and it's going to rub off. And I think that they're going to be a factor in the Western Conference because they're not that bad a football team.
Were you surprised much about what happened last night in Montreal?
Well, the games this week, when I watched them before our game, I told our coaches, I said, holy cow, if that's the way those 3 games went with the turnovers and the way the ball was bouncing, I said, I was almost afraid to step on the field today.
Obi, I know you want to get back with your team. Congratulations on the win. Best of luck all year.
Thanks very much.
Okay, Bob.
The offensive and defensive game stars.
Today, both your game stars were the visiting Toronto Argonauts. Daryl Nicholson, the outstanding middle linebacker, number 72, and Lester Brown, both receiving and running the football. Al McCann has them at field level.
Yes, I do, Frank, and our congratulations to the 2 Argos picked our game stars today. First off, Lester Brown, another fine game for Lester, very well known in the CFL, having played at both Montreal and here in Saskatchewan at one time. Lester, you were kind of a dual threat today. You ran the football for quite a few yards, 60-odd yards, and caught the football for a heck of a pile with 6 catches. A busy day for you.
Well, yes, it took a lot of work, and